Hello, welcome to the Gunpla Network. I'm Zeta Kai. And for far too long, the Baund Doc has been far too underrepresented in our hobby. A few standards, some mobile suit in action, some Gashapon, some old kits, and one lone SD were all we had if we wanted a Baund Doc of our very own. That is until October 2020, when the high-grade Universal Century NRX-055 Baund Doc was released. Let's take a look at this kit. So the Baund Doc is from one of the best anime ever made, Mobile Suit Zeta Gundam. This particular version is piloted by one of the many disturbed pilots of the Baund Docs. This one is Rosamia's version with the pink highlights. I'm hoping that someday, maybe it'll be P Bandai, if so, whatever, we get some of those other color combinations. But for now, this is the one we get, and this is the one that was featured predominantly in the series Zeta Gundam. Now, the Baund Doc has a very interesting design history. It was designed by Makoto Kobayashi, who's a very excellent mecha designer. He also designed the Marasai, the O, and was the principal designer for the Double Zeta Gundam, among many others. Now, the Baund Doc first saw light in his personal doujin, Dragon's Heaven, a manga that he drew featuring the Gamp, which looks like this. And then he was hired to work on Zeta Gundam. He made the prototype Baund Doc, and then that was cleaned up into the version that we're all very familiar with. Then he made a couple MSVs of the Baund Doc, and then later he had Dragon's Heaven animated in his own OVA. And in that, you'll see the Gamp, which definitely looks like a Baund Doc. You can see it right here. So it is definitely a very standout, unique, singular design, and there is nothing that could ever be mistaken for the Baund Doc. The model kit really faithfully reproduces the Baund Doc seen in Zeta Gundam and has some really cool details. You can see here with the rubbery green piping and some of those vertebrae pieces and some other pieces here and there. There are a lot of nice little details on this model kit. Some very modern design elements, the way that the armor is stacked on the shoulder to have that color separation be achieved. However, there are some callbacks to the old Zeta Gundam line. There are some really bad seam lines in this kit, so bear that in mind when you buy it. Now let's talk articulation. The Baund Doc is very articulate, actually, starting here with the little ears that move around. The head is actually quite expressive because you get two ball joints, one at the top of the neck and one at the base of the neck. And with that very long neck joint, it allows a lot of expressiveness out of the head. The shoulder here features a nice hinge forward joint. That's on both shoulders. And the right arm here will spin 360 degrees. It has some nice articulation here in the shoulder armor. It has a cut joint at the elbow, actually. I'll show that in a second. There's a double joint there in the shoulder. Here we go, the cut joint in the elbow. And the elbow actually has two joints, although you can't achieve a full 180 because of the design of the claw arm on the right hand. A nice ball joint at the wrist, and the claws, I wish were a little more articulate. The little claws on the lower claws actually do have two joints, but the big upper claws only have one joint at the base of the hand. That yellow is achieved via plastic though, so that's pretty cool. Now let's do the left arm. Typically we don't do both arms, but the Baund Doc is so asymmetrical that we have to look at each arm separately. So the shoulder joint moves around a lot. Some of that comes into play for the transformation to the mobile armor mode. A nice double joint here at the top of the shoulder with some really cool detail work here. The Baund Doc, man, it's just so weird. It has a bicep swivel here and then a double joint at the elbow, but not what you would think. It's kind of like that. This little shield bit hinges back and forth, and this shield bit will move back and forth there on that joint. The hands are interesting. They're kind of like the master grade wing style hands with an opposable thumb and then removable fingers. The four fingers are removable when you swap those out for different hand expressions. Sorry. The torso has a lot of articulation, maybe too much articulation. It seems to be getting loose over time, but there's a lot going on in there. These little flaps on the side, movable thrusters on the back, and some very nice hip joints. The hip joints kind of remind me, if you've ever built like some of the Bionicle or Hero Factory Lego kits, it's kind of like that. It's kind of like this double layered piece in the hip to give it more stability than just a single joint. It's the same joint, but it's two pieces of plastic. It's kind of hard to explain, but it works really well. A nice spread despite the fact that the skirt armor kind of gets in the way, and the ankles rotate 360 degrees for the transformation, and has some really good articulation in the like claw feet. So all in all, some very nice articulation in the Baund Doc, and you can get it into some very good poses. But remember, there is some seam lines to deal with. There are a couple stickers. The yellow triangles on the head and the ones way down on the pink parts on the leg are yellow stickers. All the other yellow is all plastic poking through, like there on the knees and, as I mentioned, on the claw hand. Now, let's talk accessories. You get quite a few. You get the Mega Particle Cannon. We'll see that in the mobile armor mode. The beam rifle, the other fingers for the holding things and the trigger finger hand, 2 beam saber blades and 1 hilt. You also get this rather weird looking action base adapter and an action base 5, which is really great. So some good accessories with the Baund Doc. Oh no, what's this pressure? Oh, I need to mention the sponsor. So our sponsor for this video and for this review is Canadian Gundam. Make sure you check out CanadianGundam.com and use our coupon code Gunpla Network to save 10% on your order. Canadian Gundam services all of North America and offers flat rate shipping, private warehouses, and a continuously rotating stock of Gunpla, mecha model kits, hobby tools, paint, supplies, and everything else. Plus, they're really great people. So check them out, CanadianGundam.com. And back to the review. So the accessories work very well. The beam saber is held nicely in the included hands. Of course, you can't put one in the claw. It doesn't work that way. You can put a lot of other things in the claw, just not the beam saber hilt. It's a little too small. The beam rifle is a very nice, interesting, unique, futuristic design, and I think really adds to the look of the Baund Doc. And as with the hilt, it is held very securely in the included trigger finger swappable hand. The beam rifle has a little clear green piece in the scope, and there's also a clear green sensor for the front of the shield there between the yellow and the pink bit on the arm. The mono eye is achieved via a sticker, which is an interesting choice to have those things be clear green and that be a sticker, but whatever, you get what you get with Bandai. Sometimes they just don't make a lot of sense. So the articulation and the accessories make the Baund Doc a pretty impressive little piece and a lot of fun to play around with and pose. The action base is definitely appreciated as this is a space type mobile suit. However, the action base 5 is a little small compared to the giant size of the Baund Doc. And now it's time to transform. Kobayashi was kind of forced by the producers of Zeta Gundam to create an alternate mode for the Baund Doc. They were very obsessed with cashing in on the transforming mobile suit robot craze of the early 80s. And so he made a mobile armor mode for the Baund Doc. This kit is a fully transforming model kit. You only have to remove the left hand and then everything else kind of folds together to create your mobile armor mode. Be very careful of the ears as you slot them in right here. It's a rather simple transformation. I guess it's rather simple, but it doesn't really exactly hide the fact that there's a little Baund Doc hiding underneath the skirt of the mobile armor mode. This claw piece here, you have to fold that just right, and then it'll hook in down there. It takes a little bit to figure out exactly how to fold that claw, but once you do, it's super secure and very stable and tight. The legs are very simple to transform. The knees basically bend backward. You don't even have to spin the hips around like you do on a lot of other transforming mobile suits. And then the claws spin around and you have some little grabby claws. They're pretty fun to play with. Now I will say the shield piece there on the top has a little tab, but it doesn't tab in very securely. The tab needs to be bigger or something redesigned with the slot. I could never get the shield to clip into place. It just kind of set on the top of the mobile armor mode. So that was a little disappointing. You can also store the weapons on the mobile armor mode. A little tab there on the back of the beam rifle allows you to put it into that port. You pop off the shield, grab your Mega Particle Cannon, and put it back on the shield and clip it back into place. And there you have your fearsome, fully armed mobile armor mode. Wow, it's so impressive, right? It's really not. Especially when you put it next to some of the other mobile armor and Wave Rider modes from Zeta Gundam, you definitely see that the Baund Doc mobile armor mode was literally an afterthought, and it shows. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't, but the mobile suit mode is definitely more impressive. So put it back in the mobile suit mode, and let's compare it to some other model kits. This is the Master Grade RX-78-2 2.0. So it's even bigger than the Master Grade. And then when you bring in a 1/44 scale like this real grade, it definitely dwarfs them. The Baund Doc's pretty big. Let's look at some other Zeta kits. The Zeta Gundam, the Gabflay, the Methis, the Ashimir, the Gaplant, the O, the Biralant, and the Palace-Athene. The Palace-Athene being the only one that's a little larger, but forget you, Rekoa, I hate you. So who is this kit for? Well, it's definitely for someone like me. If you love Zeta Gundam, you're gonna love having the Baund Doc. I waited a very long time for Bandai to announce that they were going to make one. After years, they finally brought us a Baund Doc, and I'm very pleased to have one in my possession. Many thanks to Canadian Gundam for sending this kit along to us for review. Now, at 5,500 yen, it's rather expensive. And if you're looking for a big, impressive model kit, this might be what you're looking for. But if you're looking for a big, impressive model kit that's also very intricate and complex to build, this might not be the kit for you. There's a lot of big pieces. The build is very simple. And maybe that's what you're after, something that has a tremendous shelf presence, that is not that hard to assemble. Man, the Baund Doc fits the bill. Not only is it gigantic, not only is the design wacky and wild and out there and different than anything else in the Gundam universe, it also is molded in hot pink and yellow and dark blue and sea green. Everything about this is unique. The Baund Doc stands alone and is one of the last kits that we need in high-grade Universal Century version from Zeta Gundam, except for one. How about that Bolinoak Salmon? You guys are all hyped for the Bolinoak Salmon, right? Right, guys? Bolinoak? Well, if you do like the Bolinoak Salmon, let us know in the comments down below. If you like this video, make sure you click the little thumbs up and subscribe to the Gunpla Network. We always have new content coming to you all about the Gunpla hobby and many other various mecha-related model kit videos and content. We encourage you to keep watching and keep on building, everyone.